because the audience is on the Facebook or the LinkedIn. With TikTok, every single one of your posts is guaranteed to get in front of people who you don't know. Everywhere else, you have to pay to play. With TikTok, they've pretty much eliminated your excuse of saying, oh, well, I don't have a team. Oh, I don't have fancy equipment. Oh, I'm not good on camera. That's okay. That's more than okay, actually. Are you going to be docked if you don't use your phone? No. But again, it eliminates any excuse for you to say, oh, I can't. You don't need any of the fancy bells and whistles. In fact, it's better when you don't. When you're going on self-serving tangents, where you just want to tell the story to continue to hear your voice or be braggadocious about something that you accomplished, and that's not really going to help you.
Absolutely.
But you have to remember, you're not that important. I mean, a big part of it is just the FOMO. It's that you don't want to miss out on opportunities to listen, to contribute, to grow, to see or meet people who could, be an incredible opportunity or relationship or a celebrity or one of those different things. So a big part of that is really just the FOMO.
Hey, Masters, welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. Today, we are with Giselle Ugarte. How are you today?
You got the name. I'm so proud of you.
Well,
I'm
thank
so
you.
good. I'm so good.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time on a weekend and, day before Easter, by the way. Happy Easter weekend.
Happy Easter weekend to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, we're going to have a conversation today about two really hot topics right now. One being this new app called Clubhouse, which has kind of got me hooked in there. It's got its claws in me. And then the other one being TikTok.
How we met.
Yes, we did meet. And you're a rock star on Clubhouse. So yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. A little bit about you. You are the CEO and founder of Action Forward, which exists to coach and support forward-facing influencers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders to use the power of social media to launch new revenue streams, amplify message, and attract meaningful communities. She has a collective following of more than 500,000 worldwide, with TikTok and Clubhouse currently serving as her favorite playgrounds to connect and share. TikTok recognized her as one of the top 100 women to watch in 2021, and she's been featured in Adweek, Business Insider for her work on Clubhouse. Oh, that's so awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
You were saying earlier that what did TikTok said what did TikTok say about you? People,
I have a handful of friends and partners who I have accumulated at TikTok over the last year. And one of the jokes is that I can explain TikTok better than they can sometimes.
Thank you. And that's good. You can explain that better than I can take notes, because I thought I wrote that down somewhere earlier, but I got so many notes now I can't even find it. So,
and I just want to say, for anyone who's listening and they're like, oh man, TikTok, and they're like, oh God, like, I don't want to dance. This is like, I don't get it. It's all kids. Just stick with me. Just stick with me. Even if you choose not to get on TikTok today, that's okay. It's simply that we want you to understand where social media is going, which is necessary. And whether you get on TikTok or not, the future is short form vertical video. And TikTok is blazing the trail in terms of how other platforms are doing it. So please don't automatically tune out because we said TikTok, or because you're like, what the heck is Clubhouse? Just relax, sit back, grab a drink, enjoy the ride. And we're going to take you on a journey today.
So let's start with TikTok. Obviously, that's where we'll start. So why should somebody, let's say somebody's never done anything on TikTok. Like, I've done a couple things on TikTok now, but what would you say to that person if they say, well, my audience really isn't on TikTok, or maybe they do think it's, like you said, it's for kids. Maybe they're a little older. What are you going to say to those people listening?
Yeah, well, there's a misconception with social media that, oh, Facebook is for boomers, Instagram is for millennials, TikTok is for children. The reality is that every single platform houses people of all ages, and it's not about getting as many of the right people as possible. It's about, or as many people as possible. It's about getting as many of the right people as possible. And so, yes, your people actually are on TikTok and they're on Instagram and they're on Facebook too. It's ultimately going to be where you're putting your energy. But here's where I come in, and this is the difference between organic strategy and paid strategy. Organic strategy meaning, how can we get you in front of as many people as possible without having to pay for it? How can we get you in front of as many people as possible without having to just burn you out with energy? So with TikTok, a few reasons why you should be really thinking about this platform is, first of all, where your mindset is thinking that your audience isn't there, in actuality, that's all the more reason why there is this huge blue untouched ocean where you could dominate that particular platform. The second thing is they have a page called the For You page. So when you log in, where on other platforms you log in and you just have your following feed, on TikTok you have two different feeds. One is your following feed. The other one, which is the default where you open it up first, is the For You feed. And on the For You feed is content that is curated specifically for you. It is going to be paying attention to not just who you're liking and who you're following, but how much time you're spending with a creator or on a certain topic or videos that have a certain hashtag. And so, in that sense, for example, when I was looking to buy a home back in October, TikTok knew. TikTok knew I was looking for a home, and I was getting served constantly videos that were all about buying your first home, checking your credit, how much can you afford, DIY videos, all those different things that it was almost like TikTok was reading my mind. And here's reason number 3, you can target without having to put any spend behind it. So you can, for example, use hashtags like millennial or homebuyer or real estate, or you can hashtag your city or your state, and you will increase the likelihood of getting in front of those types of people without having to put the money behind it like you would an ad. And then furthermore, chances are you probably don't know a lot of people who are creating on this platform. And so it sets this false anonymity there where you can be a little bit more creative and you can do different content where maybe you feel like you've been put in a box on other platforms. And then last but not least, it's fun. Nielsen ran a report in 2020 where they surveyed a ton of creators and a ton of consumers who are on TikTok, and the majority of whom said that they actually feel better about themselves after using TikTok in contrast to other social media platforms where they are made to feel worse. And so TikTok is fun. It makes you feel good. It is like flipping through the channels on a TV screen, and yet every channel is specifically curated for you. And so if that isn't convincing you why you shouldn't lean in again, and full disclosure, I deleted the app 3 times before I got it, because it takes a minute for TikTok to figure out who you are, how old you are, where you are. They will specifically recommend content that is all over the place, and they're ultimately just seeing what your user habits are. And understand that if you find that your For You page is full of teenagers and dancing, that might be because you're watching a bunch of teenagers and dancing videos, even if the reason is I'm just trying to figure out why she's famous. So definitely lean into it. And if you don't lean into it, understand that this is where everyone's going. We see Instagram Reels, we see YouTube Shorts, we see Snapchat Spotlight, and now we're even seeing LinkedIn hop in on stories. So this is where it's going. And if you can figure it out on TikTok, you'll be able to figure it out everywhere else.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. So you said if let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, you know what, I know my audience is on Facebook or LinkedIn, right? Or whatever. You're saying that they're also going to be seen on TikTok. Like, I guess how do you, like, if somebody, like if I'm thinking about this from my perspective, it's like, why do I want to invest time somewhere else if I know my audience is here? Especially based on what you said when you said you deleted it 3 times because you said it may not be worth it. So I'm going to bring that argument to you for the people listening. Why should we invest the time now?
Because the audience is on the Facebook or the LinkedIn. With TikTok, every single one of your posts is guaranteed to get in front of people who you don't know. Everywhere else, you have to pay to play. In fact, everywhere else, you sometimes have to pay to play to even get your own following to see your posts. On average, on Facebook, maybe 5 to 10% of your following is going to see your posts. LinkedIn, actually, I love the organic reach on LinkedIn. And so if you're comfortable on LinkedIn, good for you. That is great. But again, with LinkedIn, it ultimately depends upon your network and then the immediate network beyond that. With TikTok, you're getting in front of people who you wouldn't otherwise perhaps walk in front of in real life, and they are entirely outside of your immediate network. The other thing too that I want you to think about is what ultimately is your goal with your career? Because for a lot of people who I work with in real estate, very few of them, this is their end game. For a lot of them, they got into real estate because it was smart in terms of investments, but also it gave them the freedom to be able to pursue other things. Maybe you want to start your own nonprofit. Maybe you want to be a motivational speaker. Maybe you want to be a coach. Maybe you want to start a brokerage. Maybe you want to be a professional content creator. And so TikTok will automatically boost your whole brand in terms of thought leadership, again, because of that way to get you in front of people who don't already know you, and also for your ability to start fresh. It's like going to a new school. It's like moving to a new city. Nobody knows who you are. And so therefore you can do whatever the heck you want. And that is one of the beauties of TikTok. Unfortunately, you have a lot of people who come on TikTok and they think, well, I make videos all the time on Facebook. I have a bajillion subscribers on YouTube. So this is easy. This is beneath me. I should be able to pop off right away. And they don't. And that's a big mistake that people are making, because you don't understand that each platform has its own different language. Very few people take the time to do that. You automatically are concerned about getting as many posts as possible on as many platforms as possible. And that's just not going to work anymore and moving forward. You have to think of each platform like a different social circle. You have different friends who've known you for different periods of time of your life, who know different sides of who you are. And each side is truly who you are. But each group of friends, you have a different inside joke with. They have different senses of humor. There are certain jokes that just will fall flat, or there are certain experiences that the other groups just would not understand. And it is very much the same with different social media platforms. And no, I'm not talking about, well, Instagram is supposed to be perfect and beautiful, and TikTok, it's supposed to be silly. And no, you should be the same person on every single platform. But again, just thinking of it slightly different, where you have just a different style or a different wardrobe, or just a different way of carrying yourself, so that it does meet that platform specific language. Otherwise, if you are simply there to put out content and try to get viral as quickly as possible, we can feel that. I like to use the example of the reality show The Bachelor, that a lot of us have known because it's been around for 20 years. And there's always that person who comes on the show and you're like, they're not there for the right reasons. They're not there for the right reasons. They don't want to find love. They just want to get to hometowns, and then they're going to leave. They want to get on Dancing with the Stars. They want to get 100,000 Instagram followers. Like, they're not there for the right reasons. And that's what we feel when you come onto these platforms and you think, "Ugh, well, this is beneath me. This is easy." We can feel that because we're humans. It's not, we get really concerned about the algorithm and the hashtags and the views. It's just one more area of human interaction. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna touch on that as well when we jump into Clubhouse. So you mentioned short. Well, first off, I'm 50 years old. Are 50-year-olds in TikTok looking at stuff?
David,
My mom's 75. Is she in there? You think?
I am working with two awesome humans on TikTok. Their names are JT and Greg. And JT is actually younger, but his primary audience is 35 plus. Greg is in his 50s. Both of them have about, together a combined over 3 million followers, and they're getting ready to go on tour. And the majority of their audience is above the age of 25. In fact, even over the age of 35. And they're not the most followed people on this platform, but they have a tight community. And even with me, y'all, like, David, you said that TikTok gave me the nod of being one of the top 100 women to watch on the platform, which has over 1 billion people. I'm not one of the top 100 most followed females on the platform. I only have about 100,000 followers. I maybe could have grown a lot faster, but for me, my community is tight. And I can walk into pretty much any TikTok room or any Clubhouse room that's about TikTok, and chances are there are people who are like, oh my God, Giselle is in here. Like, they think that I'm a bigger celebrity than some of these people who have millions of followers. But it's not that. It's that I have 100,000 really awesome humans. I don't have kids. And by kids, I mean kids following me. I also don't have kids in real life, but that's neither here nor there. That's another story. But I have, over 100,000 people that these are, influencers, entrepreneurs, people who are really wanting to make an impact on social media. Very rarely do I even get trolls because I pretty much filter them out with my no BS style and approach to how I deliver things. And I'm good with that. Most of my videos do not go viral. Most of them do not go viral. Even though I am a master of TikTok, most of them do not go viral. However, all of them will create relationships that are tight to where TikTok is now one of my leading sources of generating revenue for my business, where if I launch a product or an event or a digital product, boom, it fills. It
Okay.
fills, and in the matter of days or weeks. And that is the power of TikTok.
All right. So that said, I want to give our listeners 3 quick strategies to be effective on TikTok. And then I want to talk about the biggest challenge. But before I even get there, like, what is the difference between, like you said, short form vertical earlier?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between that and like a Facebook video,
Anything else?
like a Facebook
Okay.
Live?
So short form means less than 60 seconds on TikTok. On Instagram, it's actually less than 30 seconds. They might eventually bump it up to 60, or they might intentionally keep it at 30 because they and TikTok, they're kind of in a little bit of a battle with each other right now and want exclusivity, and they want you to be on their platform over any other one.
Sure.
Vertical, meaning it is meant to be created and consumed on your phone. And so with that, it's almost like you feel like you are FaceTiming with these people. Can you put a widescreen video on TikTok where the bulk of your screen is black? You can, but people don't love it because they want to feel like you created this piece of content for them. They want to feel close to you. They want to see your face. They want to see your eyes. They want to see your
So you're
smile.
saying that it's like the you'll see the video in the middle and it's black on each side. Is that
Yep.
what you're? Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So they want, like, fill the screen with you. So it should be vertical. It should be that long
Got it.
way. How we know Facebook and Instagram stories, and now LinkedIn's doing stories and Instagram stories and Snapchat. And Snapchat kind of paved the way for that vertical form of creating content. So it is meant to be created and consumed using your phone and your phone camera. Now, do people use their actual cameras, and are there people who have fancy production teams? Absolutely. But that's also one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video is with TikTok, they've pretty much eliminated your excuse of saying, oh, well, I don't have a team. Oh, I don't have fancy equipment. Oh, I'm not good on camera. That's okay. That's more than okay, actually. Are you going to be docked if you don't use your phone? No. But again, it eliminates any excuse for you to say, oh, I can't, you don't need any of the fancy bells and whistles. In fact, it's better when you don't, because then it feels like you created that content specifically for the platform. And so even just getting you into the habit of creating content and on a regular basis from your phone, forcing yourself to have to connect in that first frame. You talked about tangible tips. Learn to connect in that first frame of content. You often hear you have to capture attention in 2 to 3 seconds. I would argue it needs to be sooner. And that's a skill that will help you not just on TikTok, but every other platform and even in everyday life. And so something that I will sometimes do, because I know that a lot of you, the record button hits and all of a sudden you are a deer in headlights. And it is like you are reading a script and you have lost all of your personality. And so I challenge you to think about who the person is on the other side of that screen. Who is that person? Say their name at the beginning of your video. So maybe it's, hey, David, here are 3 tips when it comes to buying your first house. After you film that, you can actually trim the beginning of it. So then it just starts off with, here are 3 tips to buying your first house. And so for those of you that it takes a minute to warm up, by saying that name, it can actually help you to get into that zone of remembering there's a human there. It grounds you for a second. And then all of a sudden you're able to get into the zone of that, connection to be able to deliver your content.
So again, why am I going to say, hey, Giselle, to start, and then I'm going to cut the hey, Giselle out?
Because, well, first of all, you're talking to more than just Giselle, but the purpose of it is to humanize who is on the other side of this plastic brick. There are a lot of people who they hit the record button, whether it's on their phone or it's on their camera, and they just go into a different place. Like they become a deer in headlights. They all of a sudden sound like they are reading from a script. They've lost all thought process and personality. And for some reason, it's not a good feeling.
So
And
it
people will
mentally
cut
helps
away.
the
So
person.
mentally, it will
Got it.
help
Okay.
you to just get grounded by saying a human name,
Got
and not
it.
just any random name. Think of someone who you actually know. Think of a client who you're obsessed with, who is the ideal person who you want to talk to, who would actually ask the question that you are answering in one of your videos. And so by saying, for example, hey, David, here are 3 tips for buying your first home versus here are 3 tips for buying your first home. It just forces you
Yeah.
to
You
get into
can,
that
you
place like
can
you're talking to
feel
them.
the difference. Absolutely.
Yes. And then you can just chop out that little part where the warm up, and then all of a sudden it starts out with here are 3 tips for buying your first home, and you're in that place already, and you've gotten through your warm up that otherwise you would have lost people.
That's a really great tip. That's awesome. Thank you. What's another one?
Another one is use text at the beginning of your videos. This is true of Instagram and Facebook, especially because on Facebook and Instagram, you have more than 80% of people who are listening to you without sound. And so you need to have text that grabs their attention at the very beginning to get them to want to turn their sound on. Here's another thing I forgot to mention about TikTok. The majority of people who are using TikTok are fully engaged. You can't rewind, you can't fast forward, you can't use other apps at once. Your sound is turned all the way up. You are on TikTok to consume fully TikTok. That's not the way on a lot of other apps. So either way, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, using text as a headline to hook people in. It's called the hook. So give us a preview of what that is. Don't just all of a sudden start the captions, although I do recommend using closed captions throughout, even if it, and not as something optional, as something that is always there, because again, most people are listening with the sound turned off on every other platform, but also on TikTok, you want to be considerate of those who maybe can't use their sound, or for those who might be hard of hearing. And so with the text at the beginning, it hooks them in a different way if your voice didn't automatically create that for them.
That's awesome. So connect first frame by using either your voice or a strategy like you shared to make it like you're actually pretend you're talking to someone you know.
Yes.
Have text right away so they can get engaged into the text. And what's the third?
The third one would just be, 60 seconds feels like a very short time frame for a lot of people. 30 seconds does as well. And so I recommend just like really trim the fat, like trim the things that you don't need to include there. Don't get me wrong, I love a good story, and I think stories are great connectors, and in some situations stories are very necessary. But there are a lot of times where you might just find that you're kind of wasting time, and it's not really the point of the video. Leave us wanting more, to where we would want to binge watch your content versus thinking like you need to pack 7 million tips in 30 seconds, rather than doing, here are 12 tips for buying your first house. Just give me 3. Just give me 3, no more than 5. Let's just get to the heart of it. And then if we want to see more, we can head over to your page. Something that I also recommend doing is jump cuts, which are kind of the anti-video. I used to be so anti-jump cuts. And what jump cuts are, it's when, for example, if I was to create a video that was, since we were on this one, hey, David, here are 3 tips for buying your first house. I would immediately after house take my finger off of the record button, take a breath. Anytime that I have a breath, a period, or a comma, I will take my finger off of the record button, and then I will take that breath, that period, that comma, and I'll hit the record button again. So number 1, and then I'll go into the thing, blah, 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 blah. Take the record button off, take a breath. 2, and then I'll just go right into it. And so it just takes out the little fragments of air, but it also keeps things moving in a different way. And if you keep things moving, you'll continue to create that attention grab over and over again.
I'm taking a lot of notes here. This is masterful stuff here. I love it.
Good.
I've had history. I've a trainer for Keller Williams University. Went through the whole certification. Took 3 years. I was going around teaching, and we're going to talk about this in a minute in Clubhouse too, because it's so different when on this audio, like speaking to somebody when you're not getting any real feedback, or engagement. And you almost have to relearn, like everything that I've learned, it's like relearning.
Yep.
But yeah, but I love these mastery tips on speaking and video, and that's like the next level stuff. A friend of mine, he teaches, he works with speakers and presenters, and he talks about, he calls it the golden thread. And the golden thread is the point of your talk. And the way he says it is that the golden thread would be like getting on a bus. So if everybody gets on a bus and they know the destination's Boston, that's the only place they want to go. Like they don't want to take a shortcut to, to Jamaica Plain or to Southborough. They want to go to Boston. He said what a lot of speakers do is they just go on all these tangent stories and they're not concise. And then the audience is like, what's going on here? And that I not as much anymore, but I found myself sometimes doing that on Clubhouse. And I hear a lot of people do that on Clubhouse.
To be honest with you, it really is, there is an art to it. There is an art to that, because if you're going to go on tangents, at least keep them related to what you're doing, or have it be part of the relationship building of what you're doing. That's what's important. When you're going on self-serving tangents, where you just want to tell the story to continue to hear your voice or be braggadocious about something that you accomplished, then that's not really going to help you.
Absolutely.
But you have to remember, you're not that important. That's the first thing. You're not that important. People are listening to you because they see themselves in you. They see someone they love in you, or they see someone who they aspire to be in you. All of these thoughts in our head that we think people are thinking when they're consuming our content, of like, oh my God, look at her hair, or oh my God, he said, or oh my God, nope, they're just scrolling. They're concerned about themselves. Like they really don't care, unless you bring attention to it, in which case you've lost us because you've made it about you.
Awesome. What's the biggest challenge you're seeing right now when it comes to TikTok? People, I didn't realize there were 1 billion people on TikTok. So, I mean, is that a lot? I'm
Than
guessing
2
it's a lot,
billion,
right?
like a ton.
2 billion? How many?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. How many are on Facebook? More than that, right?
I mean, the whole world is on Facebook.
Yeah. So you got
But there
50
was,
billion or something. Yeah.
there was a moment, and I haven't checked it recently, but there was a moment when TikTok was the top downloaded app in the App Store. And yeah, for a while.
I'm goofing around with a little bit. I did a couple things. I want to switch gears to let's get to the challenge question, and then we'll talk about Clubhouse.
Yeah. So what was the question?
What's the biggest challenge you see with people using TikTok, or what's the mistake? What's the mistake people are making?
Spend on any new platform. So whether it's TikTok or Clubhouse, or maybe for you, Instagram is new. Spend some time listening. Spend like a whole week just listening. If you were to, and again, I always try to humanize the situation. So if you were to go to a party where you didn't know anybody, you wouldn't just like dodge to a group of people, completely interrupt the conversation, and just start talking about yourself. Like, no, you'd walk in the door, you'd maybe introduce yourself to the host, you'd figure out for me personally, I always figure out where's the water, where are the bathrooms, where are the dogs, like those are my priorities, where are the snacks? And then I kind of just like lean in and look around and figure out like, all right, where are my people? Where are the people who look like they might be my people? And so that's really how you should be looking at social media as well. It's like, listen first, go follow like 100 people, not all at once, because you might get in follow jail on any platform if you repeat that action, really quickly too many times, but follow like 20 people. And then tomorrow follow 20 more people, and follow people who are in your industry, follow people who are in not anything like your industry, follow people who look like you, follow people who look and live nothing like you. And allow for that to curate your experience of just being able to see what's working on the platform, but not just what's working for you. What videos for you made you laugh out loud, or made you feel something, or made you go, that's a new way of looking at something. Because then that way you can see what resonates with you and understand that everything works and nothing works. but spend some time really listening, at least at first. Once you get into creation, I think it's more important to spend more time creating than consuming. But always you should have your ear to the ground in some way, just to be listening and figuring out what the platform is about and if it's something that you want to be a part of, and also from there, how. So listen, spend some time listening.
Awesome. All right, let's switch gears now. We're going to talk about Clubhouse. By the
Let's
way,
go.
what's with the lion in the background there?
Oh, so there's the giant picture of a lion on my desk in the background. I loved the picture. I saw it and I felt like I needed to have it. I am a Leo. I'm not super into astrology by any means, but I loved it, had to have it, and it's just become one of
Cool.
my favorite pictures. It's followed me from home to home.
It's badass. Thank you.
Yeah, we got Wonder Woman on the left. We got
There you
Snoop
go.
Dogg
Yeah.
on the left.
Nice.
We got my line on the right.
Speaking of Snoop Dogg was we were in Clubhouse listening to him last night.
I saw that on your Instagram.
Jillian Elderman. It's crazy to think that Jillian Elderman hangs out with Snoop Dogg. Like they like hang out. That's wild. Do you know who Jillian Elderman is?
Yeah, I wasn't in the room though, so I have no idea what the conversation was, but I saw that on your Instagram. And I'm like,
NFTs, nice. Really, but yeah, it was still awesome.
That's awesome.
To Snoop.
And that's the beauty of like, for those who are not familiar with what Clubhouse is, it's a drop-in audio only experience. And you go in and it's a feed just like any other feed, but rather than seeing like pictures or videos or essays, all it is just live conversations that are happening, and all you see are the topics of conversation and the people who are inside of that room who you happen to follow. And with that, it's incredible because you never know who's dropping in. It's free to use and it's like a live conference, but you can be a part of it, or you can just listen, and that's fine too. But you find yourself with these thought leaders and celebrities, and actually I find that on Clubhouse, every single time I'm in a room, this has happened every single time without fail. The person who I'm always captivated by in every single room is always someone who I had never heard of before I walked into that room.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Clubhouse is the great equalizer. That's how our friend James Rembert describes it, where everyone's starting from zero. And so in that sense, you are, and it's also still small. So you have the ability to speak up and stand out very quickly. And so you have these people on these stages who you otherwise maybe wouldn't have lined up in, say, a panel or a conference. And all of a sudden you're seeing them interact, and you're getting exposed to people who you otherwise wouldn't have in everyday life, because they're, it's from a bunch of different social circles and people who are from all over the world, and they're just getting on their phones, and it's also forcing people to be forward facing where otherwise they might have been the idea or the backbone behind the operation, and they're not typically the ones who are front and center talking about it. And so that's not to say that, when I say someone I've never heard of before, in some cases it would be someone who would be considered a quote unquote nobody, but in some cases it's just somebody who, like, I just had not heard of them before. I had no idea who they were. And because of Clubhouse and the organic reach available and the accessibility on there, it allowed for me to hear from these people.
Yeah, we were in the room Tuesday with Justin Bieber.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, Justin Bieber was on I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. And it was wild because I don't know. I know who he is from, seeing him in like videos and stuff, but he actually seems like a really decent, cool, chill kid, humble too. You would not know that though from what the media portrays him, but he seemed like a pretty cool, down to earth dude. So that was neat. It was wild. I saw a different side of him just listening to him. Chili had a couple of his buddies up there, and yeah, it was neat. But yeah, I mean that's what Clubhouse is doing.
Go watch Never Say Never. It's so good. It's one of my favorite movies. It was like one of the first Justin Bieber documentaries. It was before he went through his like a-hole phase.
Sure.
But I love him.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, you just never know who's going to show up. I mean, you go in there in the feed every night, and, I was in a room with Van Jones from CNN. And that was pretty cool listening to him. I actually got to ask Cal Fussman. I don't know if you know who Cal Fussman is. I actually got to engage with him. I got up on the stage and was able to ask him a couple of questions, kept like a 15-minute conversation. He's like one of the top journalists on the whole planet. I mean, it's just wild. I mean, it's just wild. You never know who's going to be there, who's going to show up. And so what would you say, like, why is it so popular? I mean, like, like I said to you earlier, I'm getting better at like, I'm on it, and I'm going all in on it, because I've literally had about 400 people now. I've been there about a month and a half. I've had about 400 people like follow me outside of Clubhouse and other stuff, and it's created some relationships. I'm a real estate coach, right? So, so basically, as you know, I put value out there, and I hope I don't sound like I'm just in there to get relationships or get clients, but
No.
I think there's a lot of opportunity right now with that platform,
Yeah.
to build business. And I know a lot of people are going all in on it.
Yeah.
And then I have a lot of friends. Like, I have people that I consider like my buddies now. Some of them I've never met in real life that I'm like talking to, and we're texting offline, and we
Yeah.
start rooms together. It's wild.
I met a new mentor on there. A lot of people don't realize James Rumbert and I, we did not know each other before Clubhouse. And now, we are friends. We're, potentially going to be launching a business together. He has for sure become a mentor for me and vice versa. And I hired someone from the platform who found me. I have absolutely created friends there. I've also developed friendships there with people who maybe I kind of knew them from afar, or maybe we were following each other on other platforms, or we had crossed paths at other conferences. And then all of a sudden you hear them, and the power of voice, the power of live. You can't hide behind filters. You can't hit the record button a million times. You are the content. You are the content. And so immediately trust can be gained or trust can be lost. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people on the platform who I feel like right now I'm kind of going through a phase on Clubhouse where I'm like, ugh, why did I follow you? Like, why did I follow you in the first place? And the more I get to know you, the more I'm like, you are not my people. I thought you were my people because of social proof and you had followers and we were kind of in the same circles. But, kind of like when you're, for a lot of people, you're in your early 20s, you have your friends you go to the bars with or the clubs with. And then all of a sudden the light comes on and you're like, you're not my people. You're my party people, but you're not my people. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now with Clubhouse, is like the lights just came on and the buzz kind of went down. And I'm like, yeah, we can't really have conversations beyond, what seemed like it was really fun while the music was playing and the lights were dimmed. So I'm going through that right now, but regardless, there's just so much insight, so much strategy, so many connections, so many relationships, and absolutely, like, yeah, a lot of opportunity for sales. Clubhouse has done wonders for my business. I launched my new business in February, have still not made an announcement for it because I was going through my website, my branding and my logo design and all that. And so I wasn't planning on officially launching until April, May. But all of a sudden Clubhouse happened and I was like, oh, damn, like I got to start putting stuff together. Have never pitched. I think there was one day where I talked about specifically what I was doing because James put me on the spot and he asked me. Have not once pitched, have not on any other social media platform even announced the name of my company in this way, aside from just changing my headline. And yet all of my workshops have sold out. I'm at capacity when it comes to my small group coaching curriculum that just took off. And it's, business has been great. And I know that a big part of that is because of Clubhouse, because rather than me having to do a live webinar or, put out some of the content that I used to, all of a sudden, like it's taking the place of that. And it's like, you can literally, almost hear some of the cash register sounds as I'm like, when I open up my microphone and people simply want to know, like, who is that girl and how can I work with her? And because I can show that I'm good for it. I'm not just saying follow me because I have this many followers. I'm saying you don't have to follow me if you don't want to, but this is how it is. And great, take my advice or don't. And they're like, but I want to, and I want to know more. Okay, great. And then we go from there.
Well, I appreciate you following me. Thank you. And I don't think you've unfollowed me yet, so appreciate that.
No, yes, of course.
um, and then it's funny though when you think about what you said with the followers, like what I've kind of when I started, I would just people that had a lot of followers, I would just follow them
Yeah.
because they had a lot of followers, and I really didn't know any better. But then when you start to see people over and over again, you're like, okay, maybe this isn't someone that I'm interested in following. So I have unfollowed quite a few people.
Yeah.
And then you
I don't
start to know who you want to follow, right?
yep.
It's pretty wild. So so I take some people take that really really serious, like, but I don't take like I'm in some different clubs or rooms, and there's people that I go back and forth with on DM all the time, and they're not following me, and I'm sometimes like, well, dude, why are you not following me? But I don't know. I just feel like it's weird
Sometimes you don't know.
saying
Don't take it
something.
personal. Don't take it
Yeah,
personal. There have been so many people where I was like, oh man, I thought I was already following you, but I guess not. Here we go.
yeah. That's true. Maybe, yeah. Like it depends on the really. Like some people I have like if it was Aaron or something, like, dude, what's wrong with you? Not following me? Like, oh, um, something else too. You talked about with following people is actually is the way you navigate around Clubhouse, right?
Yep.
So like I followed Amanda Dahl and William Tong
God
is
bless.
a
God
big
bless their sweet
influencer on there.
souls.
Yeah. But I think it was William that brought me into the Breakfast of Champions room or Breakfast with Champions. Have you been in that room?
I haven't been as much as I
Oh
need to.
gosh. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
and I think I hopped into it for the first time maybe a week or two ago when and you were in it because you were talking about it was a whole conversation about relationship dynamics like between couples. And I loved that so much. So I need to what time is that room by the way?
Starts at 5. It's at Monday through Friday from 5 to 11, 5 Eastern, 5 a.m. to
Okay.
Eastern. So I mean, literally, it has me getting up now at 4:15. So I do what I need to do. I'm in a room at 5. It's
Wow.
funny because I want to be there at 5 so that I get pulled up on stage. There's a lot of people that are like
Wow.
there at 5 a.m. on the dot. It's
Wow.
super cool. And I get so much from it, and sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes I'll share, sometimes I'll just listen. I'm
Yeah.
usually working out. I'm training for a race right now, so I'm usually working out in the morning anyway, and it's just going in the background. And Glenn is legit. He's a legit, just a good dude. But what is the benefit? Why don't you tell us what's the benefit of who you follow? Like how does that curate? That's like how you curate your experience.
Yeah, ultimately it's going to determine what's showing up in your main feed, which is formerly known as your hallway of Clubhouse. But a lot is changing now, and I don't entirely know how the hallway is curated because the algorithm is changing a lot. And so it used to be that the way that my hallway looked, it would be ranked from biggest room to smallest room based upon who had the bulk of people who I was following inside of the rooms. And now it's not like that anymore. Now it's kind of
Hmm.
all over the place. I'll find that there are big rims that are lower down in my feed. And so regardless, it is still based upon people who you follow, but I don't know if they're somehow trying to recommend topical conversations based upon rooms that you were in. I'm not totally sure, but that's at least how it was previously.
Yeah, I've seen that. And like for instance, sometimes even Breakfast of Champions or Breakfast with Champions doesn't even show up in my feed. I have to find it,
Really?
which is strange. Yeah. There's
That's
been a few
super
times
strange.
where it doesn't, and I'm in there every morning, and yet it won't, I'll have to go find it myself. Yes. So there's that in the people in the rooms has been, it seems like the numbers have been going down lately for some reason. I'm not sure. Maybe
I
just
think a
because
lot of
there's
people are
so many
getting
more
breaks
rooms.
and more rooms. I think it's a
Yeah,
lot of
more
things.
rooms, more clubs, just a lot going on. There
Yeah.
was that thing last night with gosh, was Snoop was going on in one room, and then there was another old school rapper, not Easy E, but there was another big thing going on last night.
Okay.
Were competing with each other, and one room had like 7,000, the other room had like 5,000. So
Okay.
pretty much all the other rooms were pretty much like 20 people, 30 people. It was crazy.
Funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, you see the same people in there. Like it's, for the most part, it's a lot of the same people like
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
Why is it so addictive?
Because you can't record it. You can't rewind. You can't fast forward. Like, you have to be there. And they actually, it used to be that recording was prohibited. Now they discourage it, and you simply need consent from other people who are in the room. But I mean, a big part of it is just the FOMO. It's that you don't want to miss out on opportunities to listen, to contribute, to grow, to see or meet people who could, be an incredible opportunity or relationship or a celebrity or one of those different things. So a big part of that is really just the FOMO. And part of that too comes from the fact that it is an invite only app. They say that it's invite only, but it's actually really easy to get an invite, and you can also get on the wait list and be taken off like very, very quickly. Unfortunately, it's not open to Android devices yet. So there is legitimacy there, but a big part of it is just, it's the FOMO, the fear of missing out.
My understanding is Android's coming in probably within the next month.
Any
So
day
then it's
now.
really going to open up. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say from your experience, and when did you start? How long ago did you start on the
I
platform?
started at the beginning of January. I think my
Okay.
my date was the last week in December, but I was overwhelmed at the
Got it.
beginning and just totally put the app to rest until I think it was like the last day in
Yeah.
December, first week in January.
Yeah. And I was like the middle of February. So, and once I kind of got, at first it didn't make
Can't
sense to
stop.
me. I was just like, this is weird. Like, why do I want to be on this voice app? But then I started listening more, and it sucked me right in. What would you say the people that are doing the bad, like I think of that guy JT, although he's very controversial. Is that who you were talking about earlier? You mentioned JT. Is that the
No,
JT or JT
no.
Fox? Different
JT
JT?
Laybourne. No, I was
Got
talking
it.
about two TikTokers. I don't think JT
Oh,
Fox
got
is
it.
on
Do you
TikTok.
know JT Fox? You know who he is?
Not personally, but I know who he is
Yeah, yeah. So
on
he does a good
Clubhouse.
job, just because he's so just in your face, controversial, and he makes the rooms very interesting. Like, he goes in there, argues with people. It's pretty interesting. So I think from that perspective, he does a good job. He's got a lot of followers. He's got a couple 100,000 followers. Who do you think does a really good job with Clubhouse, and why? Give us two people.
You know, I definitely do think that William Tong does a great job on
Yes,
Clubhouse. He's
absolutely.
somebody who
One of the best.
he's not an influencer, no, like quote unquote influencer anywhere else. Clubhouse is really what it is, but he's on the app all the time because he has a newborn baby, and so he is legitimately up at all hours of the day. But he just has such a great personality where he really leads, not even with value, but he leads with listening.
Mm,
He leads with listening,
great
and
point.
doesn't have a super loud, extroverted, flamboyant, controversial personality. If anything, he's actually pretty soft spoken, and yet can be very can be very assertive when he needs to, very inclusive all the time, and he inserts himself into a lot of diverse conversations significantly beyond the world of real estate, which is where he literally, professionally
Mm,
lives, is real estate. So I think he does a really great job. He, for the most part, stays out of the drama, and he also leads with grace in terms of wanting to, you know, continue to create the sanctity of the app and the goodness of the app that it is. Um, my goodness, there's so many different people to choose from. Um, uh, I mean, some really awesome humans. Brian Fanzo is doing a great job as well. He's been on, I think, since November, but he pulls together meaningful conversations, just like meaningful conversations, um and is very kind, very generous, is not afraid to share what he does not know, and just like, rather than just trying to get through as many people as possible or answer as many questions as possible, like it's really just, it's having real exchanges of words and conversations, and not self-promotion. And I think he does a really, really good job of that. But there are a lot of people who are doing really, really good jobs. There is an art to not only holding space for great conversation, but moderating.
mm,
There are a lot of people who hold great space for conversation, but they are horrible moderators, or they have zero personality and like zero ability to like ring people in at all. and why they have so many followers, I don't understand. There are some people who are great moderators, but they don't necessarily want to be on the platform all the time, or maybe they're only great moderators and they don't really have much substance beyond being a really great
Yeah.
MC. And there's that too. So, but there's really there's no right way to do it. There are some wrong ways to do it, but there's really no right way to do it. And I love that so many different personalities are making themselves visible on the platform. And that's part of the magic of it too, is you can't hide in the consumption of Clubhouse. On every other platform, you could easily scroll through something, and unless you like it or comment on it, no one would know that you were paying attention. With Clubhouse, you have to be leaning in or all into that conversation, because your profile picture shows up the second that you enter the room. And they've talked about creating potentially some like ghost technology or abilities for celebrities to be able to hide themselves when they're in rooms. And I really hope that they don't do that, because that's part of the beauty of Clubhouse, is that you're forced to show up and own up to the conversations, no matter how weird or crazy or inappropriate or controversial they are.
It's funny. I started to share earlier how I followed William, and I ended up going on a tangent myself. But I was William into a room, into the Breakfast of Champions with Champions, and then I hung out there for a while, and then I raised my hand, got up on stage, shared, then connected with Glenn Lundy somehow, and ended up, Glenn has an offline coaching thing that I joined. So anyway, I'm in the room. And because I'm in the room, I got in one morning. They had Tim Story was talking to the group.
Yep. Yep.
So I was pulled on stage during that, and I shared something, and then Tim said, "Who just shared?" and then asked me to DM him. So I DM'd him. He said, "DM me your cell phone number." I DM'd him. Half hour later, he calls me on my cell phone. Right, this is Tim Story that wrote the book, The Miracle
Yeah.
Mentality.
Yeah.
Long story short, he ends up on my podcast. We have an awesome
Wow.
episode.
That's
Then after the
amazing.
podcast, we talk for 30 minutes, and he agrees to take me on personally as a coach. Now, yeah,
Wow.
so our first coaching call actually starts on the 6th next week. Yeah, it's like insane. But the reason I'm sharing that is because that's what can happen just from following the right person,
Completely.
right? Followed William into a room, which led me to following Greg, which led me to be up on stage when Tim's Story, and then bang. So
Wow.
you mentioned a few wrong ways to do things. So we'll answer this question. I want to hear about your company, and I want to want you to let people know how to get in touch with you, and then we'll wrap it up for you, because I think we said 20 minutes, and I think we're going on. It's been a while, so it's been cool though. But, so do you want to just tell us? You said there's people are doing some things the wrong way. What are a couple of those wrong ways?
Yeah, again, I think it goes back to even what we were talking about with TikTok, where it's like you walk in and you think that you own the place. And you walk in thinking that you're supposed to be the star of the show, or that you're supposed to be on that stage. And so again, taking some time to listen, because even being a great moderator, it's not about being a great speaker, it's about being a really good listener. And if you suck at that, it's not going to work very well for you, at least not in the long game of it. And in terms of relationship building, always come prepared with a question. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people raise their hand, they want to come on my stage, and I come to them and go, hey, David, what's your question? Oh, I didn't have a question. I was just here to provide value. All right. Thank you very much. We're all students of each other. You should always come prepared with a question, even if you are the top expert in your field. Just at least have one in your back pocket, because not only is that showing me humility, but it's showing me that you're a good co-moderator. Part of being a good co-moderator is making sure that the conversation is meaningful and that it keeps going. And so if you can provide a question for me, for the room, for anybody else, then not only is that just, providing the respect of, this is how the room is going, and I didn't invite you up to be a moderator, otherwise I would have. But it's just letting, sometimes there's more value in you asking the question than you giving whatever insight you thought that you could bring to that. Another thing, the pitching. Oh my God, the pitching. Um, if it is a no pitch room, don't pitch yourself. If people want to DM you, they will. But I think just leading with the pitch and the pitch and the pitch, you know, Can you get away with it? Sure. Are you going to get people to DM you? Probably. But like, again, like, what are you there for the right reasons or not?
Yeah.
And so those are a couple of little tangible things. Don't just get into a room and raise your hand. Get into the room, listen for a little while, listen for at least one room reset, and then hop up.
It's interesting when you talked about getting up, because what's been happening is people will pull me up or invite me up, and maybe I don't necessarily have a question, but sometimes I see it's a big room, big stage. So I'm like, all right, I'll just jump up.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't even get asked questions, but I agree with you. As if I get up, I'm thinking, okay, I need a question now. Like, what should I ask? So a lot of times I'll accept the invite, not knowing what I'm going to ask, but then be able to listen for a little while. But now, listening to you though, I think maybe sometimes it makes sense not even to accept the invite, just chill back. Cause I have been on a couple stages where I couldn't come up with a question. So I
Well,
don't
and
want, I don't want to be the guy.
if they invite you up, it's a different story. But if you're raising
Yeah.
your hand, and it's a question and answer room, and you don't have a question, then it's like, what?
Yeah.
If they invite you up, it's something different. They clearly wanted you up for whatever reason. But at least having a question in your back pocket definitely helps.
I followed William into this Forbes room, and the people on the stage were like so intelligent and smart, and we're having this conversation, and I was like, and all of a sudden, of course, William invites me up. So I'm just like, I don't even know what I was gonna say, but you know what? I feel like I did pretty good. I held my own. I did ask a question. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm a little smarter than I think I was. So that was
Yes,
pretty neat. But
yes,
anyway, thank you. I want to say I appreciate your time.
yes, of course.
Fun conversation. So first off, tell us about your business. You can definitely pitch your business here.
Thank
I
you.
want people to reach out to you for business. So tell us about your business.
Yeah. So, and I offered this to James the other day, so we can even extend it to you guys. But if you do want to learn more about TikTok, I do have a free mini course that you can get. And if you go to www.action-forward.com/Zillow Killer, you can claim that free mini course for my top 10 TikTok tips for entrepreneurs. But Action Forward does exist to be able to help forward facing entrepreneurs and executives. So if you are interested in coaching, whether it's one-on-one or small group, my Action Forward method is a trademarked curriculum where we really go through and pinpoint, what is your goal here? What is your target audience? What is your message? Because a lot of people don't know that. I'll say, who's your ideal client? And they're like, what? Well, my clients are so different. I'm like, I know that, but like, who really makes you excited? Who makes you happy? And they're like, well, I've never really thought about that. Okay, well, there's issue number one. And even helping you with some of your external communications with PR. A lot of people hire PR agencies, not realizing they're not doing anything for you. And you're paying a ton of money for them to do things that you could have done yourself, or paid a virtual assistant $15 an hour or less to do the exact same thing, and what they claim they need the whole month and tens of thousands of dollars to do. So if you're interested in that, definitely hop into my DMs or reach out to me, coaching@GiselleUgarte.com, and would be happy to help. But most importantly, happy to be here, talk about things that I get really excited and passionate about, and usually end up talking really, really fast about because I'm so excited about it. So excited that Clubhouse brought us together, and looking forward to seeing how the platform evolves.
Yeah, I'd love to host some rooms with you too, if you're open to it.
Of
We'll do some
course.
stuff.
Absolutely.
Um, how do I get an action forward slash path to mastery? Can we make one of those happen
Yeah.
for our listeners?
Yes.
What did you say?
Yes.
The other one was actionforward.com/Zillow Killer, which is
Yeah.
James is my boy.
We'll make
I'd love
it.
to I'd love to have one for our listeners for actionforward.com/path to
Yeah.
mastery. Can we
I
make that
will,
happen?
here, you can, if you want to edit that part out and edit this part in, I'll just make a page right now. I made a special download for you and your listeners. So if you go to www.action-forward.com/path to mastery, you can download my free mini course and do it in
Sweet.
less than an hour. My top 10 tips for TikTok for entrepreneurs. And it's really easy to digest, and you could get through that and be like, oh, I get it now. Or if you're like, Giselle, I want more, then in that case, there's other coursing and coaching available there too.
That's awesome. And we're not going to edit anything out. So if they want to go to James's, they can go there, or they can go to Path to Mastery.
Amazing. Yes.
Giselle, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this. All right. You rock.
You rock. I'm making your page right now. It'll probably take me like 5 minutes.